Danish theologian Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Once you label me, you negate me. Once you put a label on me, you negate me." And the Tao is filled with that. God, in reading Rumi this last week, I felt like he and Lao Tzu must have been brothers. And then I find out that he was a friend of Shams of Tabriz. That Rumi and Shams and Saint Francis and Lao Tzu and Jesus and Buddha, they're all telling us the same thing. Someone sent me a book that said Jesus and Lao Tzu. And on the left-hand side of the page was all the sayings of Lao Tzu. And on the right-hand side was all the sayings of Jesus. They were almost identical. And Jesus came along 500 years after Lao Tzu. I'm not saying he was plagiarizing, but what I'm saying is that there are eternal truths. So the soul, the invisible part of you, is the part of you that is infinite. Now, this is really the crux of what came up here to speak about this afternoon. The invisible part of you, the part of you that's watching, the part of you that is not what you have and what you do and what other people think of you, that's the ego. Remember, the ego is edging God out, E-G-O, edging God out. In the first 9 months of your life, while you were inside your mother's womb, there was nothing for you to do. There was nothing for your mother to do. Something was taking care of everything. You didn't have to say, "Oh my God, I hope my nose doesn't come in over here in the back of my head," and I hope, it's like it was all just being taken for you, just being done. Everything. And then you came into this world, popped out, then your parents said, "Great work, God. We'll take over from here." And in the process of taking over, they taught you your false self and the culture that you were immersed in. And only a handful of us, wow, I didn't even know I included myself in there, but I guess by now I'm starting to. Only a handful have ever really grasped the message that there are no limitations. That which is infinite has no limitations. So hear this, really hear this. Your soul, the invisible part of you, your excitement, is who you are. It's who you are, not this thing, this dust, who you are. Resists anything that tries to make it finite. What does finite mean? It means it stops someplace. It's finite. This microphone starts here and it ends here. It's like it's finite. This big boat that we're on is finite. The clothes that you wear, the body that you have, it's finite. It begins and it ends. It's finite. The part inside of you that is just occupying this finiteness is infinite. And what does infinite mean? Infinite mean? It means it doesn't stop anyplace. As soon as you stop at some place, it's finite. How are you going to stop your excitement? How are you going to say there, that's it, it doesn't exist anymore? Can't turn it off. It's who you are. And your soul, this is what I wrote. The ideal of the soul, the thing that it asks for, is neither knowledge or light or happiness. The ideal of the soul is space, immensity. The one thing it needs is to be free to expand and to reach out and to embrace the infinite. The ideal of the soul is infinity, because that's what it is. It is miserable when it is circumscribed or restricted. Okay? Once you understand this, see, before I had children, I had 8 theories about how to raise children. Now I have 8 children, no theories. Okay? So, the one thing I've learned as a parent is that nobody likes being told what to do. Have you noticed that, parents? And if you're not parents, have you noticed how you react to your parents when they tell you what to do, or what to be, or how to think, or what you can do, or what you can't do? This is like a universal thing. I see heads nodding. Everybody knows that this is a universal thing, that the ideal of the soul is infinity, because it's your excitement. It can't stop any place. As soon as you try to put it into a box, as soon as you try to circumscribe it, as soon as you try to tell it what it is, your soul will cry out with, "Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what I can be. I don't want to hear it from you. I don't want to hear it from any books that you give me. I don't want to hear it from the church. I don't want to hear it from my culture. I don't want to hear it from," and this is true of everyone. Don't fence me in. But I mean, loving somebody really means, really loving somebody means, I love you so much that I allow you to be whatever you choose to be, no matter how much it conflicts what I think you should be or what I would like you to be. I love you for that. And I impose no restrictions, no conditions. I put no boxes that you're going to fit into.
I turn to Mother Teresa to offer you a way to improve those negative environmental fields. The following 8 points are from Mother Teresa of Calcutta, followed by my comments on each of her suggestions. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. When you notice low-energy conduct of others, rather than allowing it to impact and infect your immediate surroundings, send them a silent blessing. When you forgive them, you choose to not be impacted in a negative manner. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. Your field of energy is protected from contamination by kindness. Kindness that comes from your heart will suffice to keep you from being dragged down into an energy field infected by false accusations. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. The world is filled with people who are looking for occasions to be offended. Your success at anything is enough to trigger such a reaction in others. Keep your energy field pristine by focusing on what you know to be your divine purpose, and by doing so, the universe will support and sustain you with what is labeled success. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. Your energy field will remain uncontaminated as long as you know that you are being honest and frank. This may attract others at the lower energies of dishonesty and cheating to try to take advantage of you. But you will not become their victim because you will have the sense of inner peace that characterizes higher and faster spiritual energy. What you spend years building, someone may destroy overnight. Build anyway. When you eat a banana, the goal is not to finish it, but to enjoy each bite while nourishing yourself. Everything in the material world that is built will ultimately be destroyed. Build not in fear of having it destroyed, but because you are giving expression to the infinite spirit within. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. Happiness is an inside job. You don't get it from anyone or anything. You bring it to everyone in every event of your life. Others may be jealous, find fault with you, and say terrible things about you, but you are free to choose happiness for yourself. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Like being happy, doing good is something that you do as an expression of your invisible spiritual essence. Stop looking for the approval and gratitude of others as your reason to do good. Ego, rooted in the material world, urges you to do what you do so that you will be remembered and rewarded as if life were a contest. Remind yourself to give love and to do good because that is who you are, and for no other reasons. And finally, Mother Teresa's last suggestion. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got, anyway. The best, as used by Mother Teresa, implies your highest, most sacred self. Others may attempt to contaminate your energy field by demanding more of you, or by criticizing you, or even by ignoring your efforts. When you return to your highest self, you are independent of those opinions almost instantly, and problems of feeling unappreciated are non-existent. Give the world your spirit and detach from the outcome of your efforts, and your energy field becomes less and less contaminated. Your intellect might protest and attempt to convince you that minefields and silent communication of energy are nonsense. But once you see this at work, you'll know. I've seen it work over and over in my own life. When I'm able to consciously project love, understanding, and compassion to those in my immediate life space, I feel the shift in energy. My wife, Marceline, is a master at this. Marceline has delivered 7 babies without any drugs, each time creating the kind of energy I describe here. Moreover, she is now a doula, a woman who assists others in delivering their babies in an atmosphere where fear and anxiety are replaced with a calm, loving feeling of thankfulness for being able to participate in such a miracle. The closer you come to being in a dynamic state of grace in your thoughts and refusing to be in the fields of those who are projecting lower energy thoughts, the closer you come to being in God's minefield.
How would we think and act in daily life if we were truly aware of our divine essence? Obviously, there wouldn't be room to reproach yourself because we wouldn't doubt our abilities. In fact, we'd never look in the mirror and feel anything but love and appreciation. We'd see ourselves as fully capable of attracting all we desire. We'd treat our body with reverence and care, giving thanks for its divine design. We'd celebrate every thought we have, knowing its divine origin, and we'd become aware of our enormous talents and be awed by all that we are. We need to encourage the awareness of our magnificence in every regard. When that awareness has been reawakened, the seedlings of inspiration will begin blossoming. Here's a way of expressing these fundamental truths offered by the writings of the Baha'i Faith. This most great, this fathomless and surging ocean is near, astonishingly near, unto you. Behold, it is closer to you than your life vein. Swift as the twinkling of an eye you can, if you but wish it, reach and partake of this imperishable favor, this God-given grace, this incorruptible gift, this most potent and unspeakably glorious bounty. There's no way to be in spirit without a changed awareness. So when we accomplish this, we give ourselves the gift of moving from being flawed, limited, lacking, and imperfect to being completely comfortable with our magnificence. This unspeakably glorious bounty is so close to us, all we have to do is make a few twinkling of an eye adjustments. So why not begin right now? Here are 3 of the most obvious and important changes in awareness that you can make. 1. Changing the awareness of our magnificent talents and abilities. I want to emphasize an extremely important point. I'm not talking about self-esteem here, nor am I referring to levels of confidence. Rather, I'm saying that we need to keep the important question, who am I, in the forefront of our mind. This question doesn't revolve around previous life experiences, has nothing to do with what we've been told our special qualities or unique abilities are, and it isn't related to how worthy or worthless we feel about ourselves. It has to do with a simple truth. As Epictetus, a philosopher in the 1st century AD, said, "You carry a God about within you, poor wretch, and know nothing of it." Just like Epictetus, who was born into slavery yet became one of our most profound teachers, we came into this world with an inexhaustible supply of talent. Our abilities are as limitless as God's are, because we're a distinct portion of the essence of Him. And there's an infallible way to begin entertaining those abilities and creating as he does. That way is to become aware that anything that excites us is a clue that we have the ability to pursue it. Anything that truly intrigues us is evidence of a divine, albeit latent, talent that's signaling our awareness. Having an interest in something is the clue to a thought that's connected to our calling. That thought is a vibration of energy in this vast universe. If something really appeals to us and we feel excited but perceive ourselves as devoid of the talent we think is necessary, it's probably an even higher vibration. Anything that's causing excitement within us is evidence of a spirit message that's saying, you can do this. Yes, you can. If we react to this message with anything other than, you're correct, I can do this, I have the ability to do it, then we've selected the vibration of resistance and ignored the vibration of excitement and interest that spoke to us. Our thoughts about who we are, what excites us, and what we feel called to be and do are all divinely inspired and come with whatever guidance and assistance we'll need to actualize these goals. The decision at this point is, are we willing to listen to these divine thoughts that pique our interest, or do we go on listening to the false self that's made us what Epictetus called a poor wretch? Rather than case studies of which I have only second-hand knowledge, I'm going to use some examples from my own life that illustrate listening to the false self. My background would appear to be an unlikely one for what I'm calling magnificence. Here's what it would look like on paper. Fathered by an alcoholic who abandoned his 3 children, childhood years spent in foster homes, a classic underachiever, educated in public schools, grew up at the low end of the socioeconomic scale, no financial advantages, no examples of or ambitions for higher education, 4 years as an enlisted man in the United States Navy, admitted to a university on a provisional acceptance at the age of 22 due to lower than average grades in high school, worked his way through 3 advanced degrees by being a cashier and a stock boy in a grocery store in Detroit. This isn't exactly what you'd call a prescription for becoming the best-selling author of 28 books and a successful public speaker. I couldn't begin to tell you how many teachers of creative writing and speech gave me low grades for my efforts in these fields. All I can say for certain is that I've always had a knowing about my interest in writing, have always been excited by the prospect of entertaining and informing an audience, any audience. By all of the accepted standards, I didn't have any writing ability. What I did have, and still do, was an interest and a passion for writing. It inspired and thrilled me, and I simply loved it. From the perspective of inspiration, I had the ability to do it, and that's all I needed to know. Then as now, I trusted that the universe would handle all of the details, including, will I be published? Will the critics approve? Will my book be a bestseller? Will my mother approve? Will I get an apology from any of my old English teachers? But really, who cares about any of this? The fact that writing excites me is all I've ever needed to know. When I follow that thought and stay with it, I conclude that I have the ability and the talent. And so do you. Like me, it's easy to find what excites you. What do you find intriguing? Does learning yoga and becoming an instructor interest you? Then you have your answer. The issue isn't about ability, it's about being matched up in spirit with your current thoughts and behaviors.
Let it chase you. Let it follow you instead of being something that you're consumed with having to get. Because the more you're attached to the outcome, the more you're trying to get something that isn't what you really want.
And this idea of knowing that divine intelligence will work in exactly the order and the preference and the time that it is supposed to. In the Course in Miracles, there's this often quoted passage that says, infinite patience produces immediate results. And it sounds like it's a contradiction, doesn't it? It sounds like a paradox. If I'm patient, infinitely patient, then I will have to wait a very long time. And this idea of attempting to hurry along the divine intelligence is something that we do with our egos all the time. Obviously, creation reveals its secrets by and by, as it is supposed to, as it is ordained. this principle of detaching ourselves from outcome, along with having infinite patience, is really essential to your manifestation process. It is inconsistent with what we have a tendency to think is the way things should be working. Because if I do everything that I'm supposed to, if I follow all of these principles, and I set down all of the rules, and I get it all organized, then I expect that I'll have results. That's the time in our lives that I referred to earlier in the very first principle of being the warrior, going from the athlete to the warrior. That's the time in our lives when we set our goals. And there's nothing wrong with setting goals. I've written about it and talked about it on many programs right here at Nightingale Conant and in many of my books. But the idea of thinking that setting goals and then just going about and having them show up is still the thinking that keeps us sort of stuck back at the warrior phase of our development. It inhibits us from moving to higher places wherein we can begin to manage the coincidences of our lives, which sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? If it's a coincidence, you can't manage it. If you're managing it, then it's not a coincidence. But when you begin to transcend some of these paradoxes, when you reach a higher level. So setting goals is one thing, and it's something that we do in the earlier stages of our spiritual development. And we continue to do it. And these stages that I talked about earlier are not things that we go into and then never go back to. We go back, we come out of it, we go back. We're always moving in and out of these stages. The question is, what is my primary emphasis? Is my primary emphasis not only on setting goals, but in falling in love with those goals, and then insisting that those goals show up when I want them to show up? That is inconsistent with manifestation and with spirituality and higher consciousness. What you have to do is have your goals, which is what a tomato seed is. It's really a goal for tomatoes. But you have to then relax and turn your thoughts and your ideas and your consciousness and your awareness to your own purpose and know in your heart that it will manifest. You see, the key to relaxing about what it is that you would like to see manifested is the certainty of the outcome. If you have a certainty, as it says in the Course in Miracles, if you have a certainty of the outcome, patience is easy. If you are uncertain of the outcome, if you're not sure how it's going to work out, or if things are going to fall into place the way you would like them to, if you have that uncertainty, then you will not be able to be patient. So patience, infinite patience, is really like a trusting in God. And when you trust in God, you're trusting in the wisdom that created you. And when you trust in the wisdom that created you, you're trusting in yourself as well. Because you can never be separate from that wisdom. So patience and trust and awareness and higher consciousness are absolutely essential.